Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a drama thriller film called Unfaithful from 2002. Enjoy your viewing. Edward and Connie are a happy, well-off family living in the suburbs of New York City. They have an 8-year-old son, Charlie. Everything could have been fine, but one rainy day Connie disobeyed her husband and went to work in the city. She had to prepare for an important auction in Soho, and so she found herself in windy New York. It was simply unrealistic to call a taxi there. After another gust of wind, the woman encounters a young man carrying a large stack of books. The collision causes them both to fall to the sidewalk. Connie feels embarrassed, and she tries to pick up the books that have scattered on the ground. After that, she asks the man to help her call a taxi, but he fails to do so as well. Noticing a mark on the woman's broken knee, the guy invites her to go to his house to treat the wound. Moreover, as it turns out, he lives in the same house. The girl looks at the passing taxis and accepts the offer of her new friend. At the apartment, Connie treats the wounds, but feels very uncomfortable. Later, she calls her son from the apartment owner's phone. In this way, she hints that she has a family. This information does not faze the boy, and he introduces himself. She learns that his name is Paul Martel, and he is 27 years old. He makes his living by reselling rare books. When the woman is about to leave, Paul offers her to take the book as a souvenir, and even recommends the book to her, asking her to read an excerpt from page 15. Connie is very touched by these words in the book, but she realizes that it is time for her to leave and leaves Paul's apartment. At home, her son notices a wound on his mother's knee. He takes funny photos with her and tells his father about the incident. Connie herself admits to her husband that a handsome young man helped her. Edward jokingly offers to send her savior a bottle of wine as a token of gratitude. The next morning, she decides to look through the book she borrowed from Paul and notices that a business card with his phone number has fallen out. When she gets to the central station, she decides to call him. For a moment, she changes her mind and hangs up, but eventually gets through to Paul. In response to her awkward words of gratitude, Paul immediately invites Connie to his home for a cup of coffee, and she accepts. At home, Paul treats her to coffee as promised and shows her a book written in Braille. While reading the book, he takes her hand. Connie also feels attracted to the guy, but decides to leave. She comes to Edward's workplace, says hello to his co-workers and their friend Bill, and gives her husband a jumper. She tells him that this time she will work at the auction with their friend Bob. That evening, Edward notices that his wife is thinking about something, but he doesn't pay attention. The next day, Connie comes to Paul's house again. Almost immediately, he asks her to dance and starts flirting with her again. Suddenly, the music stops and Paul walks away for a minute, and Connie realizes that she might do something stupid, so she tries to leave but returns to get her coat. At this point, the guy literally knocks her down and takes her to his bedroom. On the train on the way home, the woman remembers what happened between her and Paul. She begins to worry. Meanwhile, Edward meets his friend Bob, and it turns out that Connie hasn't talked to him about any auction. As time passes, Connie and Paul continue to meet regularly, and one day he invites her to lunch at a cafe. There, he behaves quite relaxed, and even kisses Connie. Her husband's subordinate notices this. In the evening, Edward joins his wife in the bathroom, but she refuses. He begins to suspect that Connie is hiding something. In the morning, he notices her new underwear and high-heeled shoes. Still hoping that his suspicions are vain, he invites his wife to have lunch together, but she refuses, saying that she has to go to the salon for a beauty massage. Left alone, Edward calls one of the salon employees, and his fears are confirmed. As Connie approaches Paul's house, she runs into some friends, and they invite her to a nearby coffee shop. She calls her lover to warn him that she will be late, but Paul arrives at the coffee shop, and they secretly retire to the restroom. Meanwhile, Edward and Bill have a conflict at work. As a result, Edward fires his friend from his job. After a verbal altercation, Bill finally tells him to take better care of his wife. This becomes the last straw for the man, and he hires a private detective to keep an eye on his wife. The man himself flies to Chicago for one day. That day, the detective takes pictures of Connie and her lover. The woman herself is so engrossed in her affair that she even forgets to pick up her son from school, and in the evening she is very worried about it. Upon arrival, the detective tells Edward all the details of his wife's meetings with Paul and gives him the address with the photos. Connie realizes that she can't take it anymore and goes to Paul to break up with him. On the street, she notices him accompanied by a young girl. They enter the library and she follows them. In a fit of jealousy, she attacks the young people in the elevator. Connie and Paul fight, and the woman says that their relationship is over. But this quarrel ends for them with a new outbreak of passion near their lover's apartment. Meanwhile, Edward approaches Paul's house, and they miraculously warm up with Connie running out of the doorway. The man enters the house and finally meets Paul. He lets Edward into the apartment, pours him a drink, and calmly answers all his questions. These answers cause him more and more emotional wounds. By the bedside, Edward notices a snow globe that he gave to his wife, who gave it to her lover. This finally throws the man off balance. He loses control of himself, takes the snow globe, and hits Paul twice on the head with it. He hears the crunch of a skull, and the guy falls to the ground. Edward realizes what he has done. At first, he wants to call the police, but then decides to hide the traces of the crime. He wraps Paul's body in a carpet to take it out of the apartment. Suddenly, he hears his wife's voice on the answering machine. She tearfully tells her lover that she can no longer deceive her family, and that it is over between them. Surprised, Edward deletes all the messages and takes Paul's body, not noticing his wife's phone number on the table. The man puts the body in the trunk of his car and drives to the school play. Upon arrival, he changes his clothes in the restroom, throws away his soiled shirt and goes to the auditorium, where Connie is waiting for him, showing him tenderness for the first time in a long time. Waiting until nightfall, Edward takes Paul's body to the dump and buries it in a pile of garbage. After that, he takes the car to the car wash. Since then, the man has noticed that his wife has begun to show warm feelings for him again, but Edward himself has nightmares. One day, when only Connie and her son were at home, the police came to the house and said that Paul's wife had reported him missing, and that they had found a piece of paper with Connie's phone number. The woman replies that she barely knew Paul. She was going to buy some books from him, but her reaction to the news about his wife gives her away. Nevertheless, the police leave, and the family's life briefly returns to normal. A week later, however, the police return to report that Paul has been found dead. The detectives ask the woman if she has ever been to Soho, where Paul lived, and remind her of a traffic ticket she received in Soho on the same day she almost forgot to pick up her son from school. She replies that she was there at a cafe with friends. When asked how she and Paul met, she says it was at a concert. Unexpectedly, her husband confirms this, saying that he was there with his wife. Edward sees that the police are pressuring his wife and takes them outside. He leaves the woman alone with her experiences. The next day, Connie picks up Edward's coat from the dry cleaners and finds photos taken by the detective in his pocket. After that, she realizes that her husband knew about her affair with Paul. In the evening, at a party with friends, she notices that the snow globe she gave Paul is back in place. She realizes by the look in Edward's eyes that he has done away with her lover. Left alone, they begin to clarify their relationship. The man says that at first he wanted to eliminate her. For the next few days, the couple lived without quarrels, but they are constantly waiting for the police to come to their house. One day, Connie finds a secret compartment in the same snow globe. A few years ago, Edward had put a family photo with a love message in it. That same evening, she burns the photos the detective took. She imagines that on the day she met Paul, she got into that free taxi and went home. Her husband comes up to her and says that he wants to tell the police about everything because they can't live with this anymore. The school auction that Connie has been preparing for so long is a success and ends with a party where she dances with her husband as if it were the last time. When they stop on the way home, Connie suggests that the whole family change their names and go to Mexico to start a new life there. Edward does not object and hugs his wife. The car continues to stand at the traffic light even when the light turns green. After all, it is here, at the police station, that everything must end for them. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klontsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.